Okay, here we go. In three, two, one. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Back to Bits podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me, as always, is D-Pad Danny. How's it going, Danny?
It is going splendid. How are you doing,
I
buddy?
am doing good. We are not pod fading, as people say. We've just been extremely busy for the past, 4 months. So, or however long it's been since we've done a recording. It's been a little while, but I mean,
It's been a hot minute, as they say.
well, we've had a lot going on. I've had a lot going on. You've had a lot going on. I was working out of town for 2 months, and then the
I
wife.
went out of town as well.
Yeah, you went out of town for some work stuff, and then my wife fell and broke her leg. So we've been playing that game for 3 weeks now. So yeah, it's just been a good time for everybody. But you know what? That's okay. It's no big deal. Things happen. Life gets in the way. But we're here now, and that's all that matters.
Indeed.
All right. So, like we usually do, we start off with anything of interest that we've picked up, and since it has been like 4 months since we've recorded, I'm sure we have a ton of stuff to talk about that we picked up. Danny, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first.
All right, sure. So most notable recently, I picked up the last couple games I needed for my Metroid set, so now I have every released Metroid game. So it's pretty.
Yeah, that's cool. I was thinking the other day when you posted that, I'm trying to remember what I have left to get. I know I need Zero Mission, and I don't think I have any of the DS releases, Hunter or Pinball, but I
Right.
think that's it. I think I've got all the other ones.
Yeah, I had to get Metroid Prime Pinball, Metroid Prime Hunters, both for the DS, Samus Returns for the 3DS, and also Federation Force for the 3DS.
Oh, that's right. I don't have Federation Force either. I always forget about that one. You kind of got a bum rap, so I don't know if it's really any good or not. I mean,
I popped it in like I was going to give it a solid chance. Like I mean, I know the stigma around it, and after playing it, I gotta say it definitely had some potential. But if they would have maybe took the steps to further it away from the Metroid series, so it didn't have to lean on a existing IP, they could have made it a new thing. I mean, it could have been a good competitive first person shooter essentially for the system, because it's not just the ball. There's the sports ball mode or whatever, but you can also, it's like team battle and stuff. It has the potential. So it's a shame that it was doomed from the start because they associated it with Metroid and relied so heavily on that theme.
right. Yeah, I get that. It's just when it came out and everybody was like, "Oh, it's a new Metroid game," and yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, this will be cool." Oh, wait, it's not.
Yeah.
Got
That's
Samus in it. Okay.
that's pretty much everyone's reaction. Like, this isn't a Metroid game.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing. It was like, I don't know, and I don't know. I guess I bought into the whatever you want to call it, the hate or the,
Sure.
and I didn't get it. I didn't even mess with it. Didn't even bother looking at it. So, but it may be one of those ones that may be really cool to pick up on the cheap. I mean, I'm sure it probably doesn't cost a whole lot now.
Yeah, I don't remember how much I spent on mine, but it maybe $17 at the most. I mean, that's
Well, that's
that's
not
not bad for any 3DS game.
bad. Well, no, I mean, especially if you're just wanting it to round out a collection. I mean, that's not
Right.
terrible either. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I've spent more for games just to round out a collection that I really didn't want or like, just to say I finally have them all.
Right.
I think I paid. It used to be the running gag around here was, especially in the PlayStation 3 days, was, oh, the new Yakuza game's out in Japan. They're not going to release it in America. Well, John will spend $60, $70 and import it, and then 3 weeks later they'll announce that it's coming out in 6 months in America. And it happened every single time that I did it, except for the two Japanese-only games that were exclusive to Japan. They were set like in feudal Japan, so they never came out. I bought those, but I just bought those to round out the set. I don't even speak Japanese, so it's like I'll never play them. Well, I may boot them up and just, I booted them up just to see what they were. But, I didn't understand exactly what was going on.
Still a neat thing to have if you're all
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, it was just to round out a collection. So,
Speaking of collections, another thing I got was there's a tablet for the Wii. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the U-Draw tablet. You put the Wii remote in it. It's got the pen. So I got the tablet and Pictionary and the base drawing app game for like $10. And I was like, this is a cool little thing. This could be a fun stream. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, this thing wasn't around for very long. There can't be that many games for it. So a couple eBay searches and about $40 later, I now own the entire U-Draw complete set for the Wii.
How many are in there?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 games for it.
Wow, then that's more than I figured. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of there's a Kung Fu Panda one, there's a SpongeBob one.
I remember that one.
Yeah, there's like Marvel Superhero Squad and Penguins of Madagascar, stuff like that.
I think the superhero, the Marvel one's like the most. I think that's probably the most popular one. That came out when I was working at GameStop. They actually have it on PlayStation 3 too. So on PlayStation 3, it may have been on 360, but I know it was.
It was.
Was it? Okay.
I did some research and it was really interesting. They had moderate success on the Wii, so they decided to branch out to the 360 and the PS3, and it eventually resulted in, I think it was like 114 million unsold units, or just some ridiculous number. And they lost like $100 million on that. And
yeah, there's just some games that really, really work on the Wii that don't really work on the PlayStation or the Xbox, and I can totally see that. I didn't even remember them making it for the 360. I remember it on the Xbox, but I don't remember it on the 360. So, but yeah, that's cool. And and you have a young one in the house. I'm sure he'd definitely enjoy playing those games too, because they were kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll break them out at some point. Like, I haven't even played any of them. Like, I haven't even tested the thing. But I mean, it's like $10 to get a new one if that one doesn't work.
Well, yeah. So I mean, you could probably find them at Goodwill probably for $1.
I'm sure
if you look hard enough. I bet. But that's cool. I mean, that's something unique and different that right now is probably worthless. But at some point down the road, somebody will want those, and the price of those will go up because everybody just kind of trashed them,
Sure. Well, I mean, it's not even about the price. It's just it was a completely obtainable, obscure little collection, and I was like, yeah, why not? It could be fun.
Yeah.
What about you, man? What have you picked up recently?
Oh Lord, I've picked up a lot actually. I do a lot of hunting for a buddy of mine too, so we get into the whole. Well, let me find this and let me find that. The 2 big lots that I got, I actually got to pull up a picture of them because I can't remember all of them that was in a lot, was a Master System lot. It was a system with a light gun, 2 controllers, that weird control stick that is flip-flopped. It's like a right-handed control stick. Have you ever seen that? It's the 2 buttons are on the left and the control stick's on the right. It's totally the opposite of what a control pad is. You know how a D-pad's on the left and the buttons are on the right? It's swapped.
Right. Yeah.
And I never could figure that one out. But it came with one of those. Actually, it came with 3 controllers. My bad. A pair of 3D glasses in the box.
Nice. See, that's a good find.
Yeah. And it came with World Grand Prix, Rambo 3, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Choplifter Pro Wrestling, Hang On Safari Hunt, Marksman Shooter, and Trap Shooting, and Zaxxon 3D. Those were all in the case with manuals. And then the one loose cart was James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing for the Master System. And I know a lot of people are going to go, okay, you got a sports game. A lot of people don't realize that James Buster Douglas is the most expensive Master System game. I ended up selling the loose cart for $170 on eBay, I think, something like that.
Not a bad turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, we only paid $200 for the entire lot, and he took the system. I already had the system. I took the light gun, which unfortunately doesn't work.
What a shame.
I was very upset about that. The 3D glasses I kept, and the 3D game, and the light gun games I kept.
Sure.
But one of these days, I'm going to get me a light phaser that actually works. I think that's the second one that I've got that didn't work.
I've got one, and it works, but it shoots like an inch to the left of where you're aiming.
Yeah.
So it's
well,
it's
you can
kind of hard to play.
Well, and I actually went online to see about repairing those, and if you take them apart, they're real easy to fix because there's just one little, I don't know what you'd call it, a diode or a flat, whatever that thing is, and sometimes it gets knocked out of place. You literally take it apart, line it back up, and close it back up, and that's all there is to it, and it should shoot straight.
Well, see, I tried to do that with a. I also have a Saturn gun that does the same thing, but it's like more astray. It's like off to the side and up or something. And I tried taking that one apart and realigning everything, and I thought, it looks fine, but it's still just working properly.
The only other light gun I've got is, well, I've got a Saturn, but it works. I have a Dreamcast one that is broken, and I think it's just the trigger is broken on it. I need to go back and try to fix that, but one of these days I'll get my Master System phaser. One of these days. The other big lot that I got was a lot of Genesis games. They were all in box. I'm not going to say they're all complete in box. Some of them were, some of them wasn't. But it was like Fantasia, Abram Battle Tank, Asterisk, Mario Andretti Racing, Sports Talk Football, Pat Riley Basketball, Superman, the Sunsoft Superman beat 'em up side scroller.
Yeah.
I never played that before until I got it, and now I kind of like it, so it's on the shelf.
I haven't played it either, but it's supposed to be pretty good.
It is pretty good. It's not like Death and Return of Superman is probably better, but it's kind of along the same lines, but it's more, I don't know, it's more like Shinobi side-scroller than it is Streets of Rage side-scroller, if that makes sense.
So it's more on a flat plane instead of like a...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Powerball, Taz, Escape to Mars, Bassmasters, Triple Score, which was Super Hang-On, Columns, and Soccer, which is a weird combination of Genesis.
That's a weird one to throw in there.
Yeah.
Like maybe a Sonic game would be
you'd think.
be better.
Yeah, that's very strange. And Combat Cars. And it also, there was a complete Michael Jackson's Moonwalker in that lot.
Oh, right.
And a role-playing, the first game that I bought from him was a role-playing game that was in the lot. I just wanted that one. It was called Traisha, I think's how you say it.
Oh, Traisha, yeah.
I knew nothing about it, but I saw the cover of it, and I just went, I really want that game. I think I paid $40 for it. My buddy wanted the Moonwalker because I already had a copy, so I think he paid $70 for the Moonwalker, which was a pretty good deal. Usually complete those run like 80 to 100. It depends on the condition of them. And I bought all the rest of them for $20.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of throwaway titles in there.
There were, and the only ones that I kept were the Powerball and the Superman, the Abrams, Asterix, and the Fantasia. I gave the rest of them to my buddy that bought the...
Should burn that Fantasia.
It's not that bad. It's not that great. It kind of makes me want Castle of Illusion, though. I don't have
Castle of Illusion. That's a must-have. Anybody that owns a Genesis. It's such a good game.
And I don't have that one in my set, but I need it now. I never really thought about it until I got that, and I'm like, well, I could
play the good version.
Yeah, I could go play the really good version now. What else did I get? I got Mega Man X from a guy. I only paid $5 for it.
I'll beat that.
Well, the thing is it doesn't work. It's so corroded and gummed up that no matter how much I clean it, it still doesn't come completely clean. Something I found out this week that I really didn't know of. I've always been a Brasso user, and when I say a Brasso user, I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes, but I don't mean a heavy Brasso user. I will clean it with my denatured alcohol, and then I will put some Brasso on it, polish it up, and then I will take a cloth and I will wipe all that Brasso off of it just to get that layer of dirt off of there. Because I do know if you use too much Brasso, you don't want to use it every stinking time because it will deteriorate the pins after a while. Okay. But there's a it's called a fiberglass pin is what it's called, and it looks like a pin with little fiberglass sticks. Is the only way I could describe it. It's almost like a brush, but it's in a pin form. If you get it wet, it's almost like a fine sandpaper. That if you put a little bit of alcohol on your cartridge and then take your pen and just barely rub across it, you don't even have to use Brasso. It takes all the dirt off of it. Like, makes it shiny. It really polishes them up. So they're only like $7 on eBay or on Amazon. So I'm going to order one and see how it works. I'm thinking I'm thinking that with this, where it has a lot of pivots of corrosion, that I might actually be able to go on there and rub that corrosion off, but not tear off that layer of, metal underneath of it. So yeah, so that's the hope. Or if it's like, I have a game, I have Zelda, one of the Zelda games for the GBA. I think it's the Four Swords version. There's one little spot of corrosion that I can't get to on that cart because of where it's at. Where with that pin, I think if I could take it and just barely get it wet and with some alcohol and just turn it a couple times, I think it'll clean it and it'll actually work. But for $6, it'll definitely be worth a shot of it anyway.
I'd be interested to hear how it works.
Yeah, I'm going to order one this weekend and get it here Monday and try it out, because it'll be worth it to try on that cart. I mean, that cart's gone. If it doesn't work, it's gone anyway. So, what's it going to hurt to try it out? But I'll send you a link to it, and you can see what I'm talking about. It's really weird. It's like a brush, but it's fiberglass. It's really super stiff. So I've been seeing it pop up on my Twitter feed by guys starting to use them and say, this is really the best thing to use. It's not harsh and abrasive like sandpaper or Brasso or something like that. And then the other two games I got were the Guardian Legend and Gradius for the NES. And I just got those on a whim because somebody had them up, and I said, I think I gave him $15 for both of them together, something like that. It wasn't very much. So it was enough that I don't see those very often around here, so it was enough for me to go, okay, I need those. I need those badly. The other thing that I got, which is kind of interesting, I know I sent you pictures of it in action the other day. I got off of one of the Facebook groups, and I know you don't have any video, but this is an HDMI adapter for the GameCube. This thing is flipping fantastic. It plugs into the the digital port on the back of the GameCube, and then you just plug an HDMI cable into it, and you're done.
Nice.
It has onboard. You could take any remote control and sync it to it, and open up the menu to change and put scan lines on there if you want them, or something like that. This one's version 2. There's a version 3 now that is actually about half the size of this. It's just about the size of the plug for the AV cable, and it just plugs right in the back. There's a new one out. I think it's called Evo or something like that. You can get those on Amazon. They run about $150. This one runs about $100, but I found the guy on the Facebook group, one of the Facebook groups I'm in, he wanted $40 for it.
Oh, wow.
And I said, yes, I will take that for $40. And it is amazing how good, progressive scan games look in 480p through this thing. I mean, they are crystal clear. Well, I sent you those pictures, and you thought it was... When did you think it was something that was going to come to the Wii or the Switch or something like that?
I don't remember. It was something.
It was something. It was like, no. This is just the GameCube. That's all this is. This is just the GameCube on this. This is, and yeah. If you, I don't know. I hate to say, it's worth $100. It's definitely worth $40. Yeah. Even $50, I would say. $100 is a lot. $150 for the other one is extremely hard to swallow.
Right.
But I mean, it beats the alternative of paying like $200 to have your system modded and cut and having an HDMI placed in there. but for something that I just plug in, plug the HDMI in it and go. And I know a lot of people are, well, if anybody's watching the video, they'll know, they'll look at it and go, isn't that the one that Metal Jesus had that Friday's GameCube? Yes, it is the one that had that Friday's GameCube, but nobody pulls my GameCube off while it's on and lets it fall on the floor 4 feet with power plugged into it. So, and I don't have kids running around, so, and if I do, yeah, we all use Wavebirds, so we don't have wires.
Right.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've picked up. It's been a lot, but we've been off for a while, but like I say, a lot of this stuff I buy and I get good deals on it, and then I sell them to my buddy, and I keep what I want out of them.
Right.
Which is good. I mean, we have a good relationship like that. I pitch in some, he pitches in some, and then we go buy these lots. And I prefer to buy the lots. I think I get a better deal with the lots.
Yeah.
And
price per game is a little bit more
yeah,
fair.
I think so. But lots are getting hard to find, and a lot of people think they got a bunch of, thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and they've got nothing. But to each his own. I let him sit on it for a while. There's a guy down the road here who has a Omega 32 CD.
Nice.
And I want it. He was asking $500 for the thing.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it looked like it had been sitting in an outbuilding for about 10 years. I mean, it was dirty. And I messaged him. I said, look, if it was complete in the box, $500 all day long. I said, but you're not going to get $500 out of it in the condition it's in. And he's still got it up, and he's got it down to $200. And I feel like sending him a message to go, $50, I'll take it off your hands right now, because I don't even know if the thing really works.
Right. And I assume it doesn't come with the power cables or anything.
Oh, yeah, it comes with power cables, controllers,
Okay.
the AV, everything. And he claims it works, but I got to see proof of something like that.
Sure.
They're here lately. I have gotten more, it works, and I get it, and then take it home, and it doesn't work, than I care to admit. And that's kind of why I've kind of gotten out of the, here's a lot with a NES and like 17 games, but there's only 3 games I want for it, and they only want $100. Well, I could buy that and flip it. And past couple times I've done that, I've come home and the console doesn't work, and I've had to put this and that and that and this in it, and it's just, I'm not playing that game anymore.
Sure.
Unless it's something that I gotta have, but that doesn't happen very often. So we actually have a little bit of news, not a ton of news, but more news than we usually do. The Retro Fighter 64 control stick. I have one. I've got one right here. I know you don't have I don't have video to Danny right now, but I've got it right here in my hand. They finally got them out to backers. They work really well. I'm very impressed with them. They feel good. The buttons feel good. There's only one small issue with it, and that is the left bumper will actually hit, if you depress it and then you move the joystick up, you can actually feel it rubbing the button. They are aware of it. They they sent out letters to all the backers a couple of weeks ago saying they are aware of the issue. We can either replace the entire controller, or we can get you a replacement left bumper that won't do that. Mm-hmm. So I put in just to have them send me the bumper.
Right.
They sent me an email actually today that said it will take, they're still working on it, so it's going to be a couple more weeks. But I know you can't see it, but I even got a video, but if you, on my phone, but if you move that stick and hold that button down at the same time, it does rub, and you could actually feel the whole controller button move while you're hitting that, which really surprised me that it slipped out of Q&A like that.
Right. It seems like something that you would, try to depress all the buttons and move stuff around.
Yeah.
Make sure.
I mean, I know it's not something that'll happen very often. How often on a N64 game are you holding the L button down while moving the moving the stick. But it is something that can wear down after a while. And, I paid for it, so I like it.
Stay in good condition, absolutely.
Yeah, right. But overall, I mean, the controller feels really good in my hand. It's set up like a 360 controller. The buttons feel good. The C-pad with the directional buttons are a little bigger. So if you're playing a fighting game or something like that. Turbo buttons on there work good. What I really like is the Z trigger is right and left. So no matter what, if you want to use your left hand to hit Z trigger, that's cool. If you want to use your right hand to hit C trigger, that's cool.
Right.
Overall, it's a really nice controller. It does feel a little cheap.
Sure.
But I mean, as far as third-party controllers go, I'd say it's a better quality than most. Excuse me. D-pad feels good.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who does not like the N64 controller like I do not like that thing, and that's one of the main reasons why I don't like playing the system. Some games feel kind of weird playing it this way because you're so used to holding it in the middle and moving the stick, but for the most part,
sure.
Yeah, for the most part, they feel really good, and it has the memory card Rumble Pack expansion on the bottom of it, so you're good there. But if you are a backer, they should have sent you an email, and apparently all models going forward will not have that issue.
I would imagine.
They're actually doing another Kickstarter where you could do colored controllers. Right now, it's just translucent controllers. It's not solid colors. I'm waiting for the solid gold to go with my gold system. I don't know when they're going to do that, but I'm kind of surprised that they did another Kickstarter for colors. I thought they were just going to do colors from here on out, but I'm guessing that maybe they can make more money doing. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Well, it looked like when I was looking at it earlier, the link that you had posted in the notes, I lost my train of thought completely. It's been a long day.
That's all right.
That it was one of the stretch goals was to have multiple colors. It was the $30,000 stretch goal.
Yeah, and it was.
Right.
But if you go, there's a whole new campaign. If you click Retro Fighters, you can go down and see they have there's 12 days to go on it. Their next day, it's the Retro Fighters Next Gen N64 transparent colors. Their goal was $30,000. Yeah, their goal was 30. Now it's up to 60. It's not as big as it was for the other one. Their first Kickstarter made $166,000. But there's a lot of people's like, oh, you're going to back it again for a color one? If they had gold, sure.
Yeah, if it's like that one color you have to have, then I could see doing that for a second one just to have, that color of your choice. But if they don't have one that really grabs out at you, you already have one of the game pads.
Yeah, I mean, if you have one of the systems, purple, green, blue, red, or orange, then, right. Then sure, you're going to want that. Yeah, it was kind of strange, though, how they said, oh, this is our stretch goal, we'll do this, and then when rubber met the road, they were like, well, we're just going to do another Kickstarter for colors. But, if they make solid colors and say, we're doing a Kickstarter again, I don't know. I mean, they've already, you can only dip in that well so many times that people are going to go. And Retro Fighters has a really good track record with their controllers. A lot of people like the NES one. I've never used it, but a lot of people like it. And there's kind of some mixed feelings on this one after it actually come out.
Sure.
For what little I play the N64, it's perfect. I don't dig deep into the N64. I don't have a whole lot of games. But, for what little ones I do, it's perfect. And if you like that shape of controller, PlayStation or Xbox One, Xbox 360 controller, I say go for it.
See, to me, it more closely resembles the Switch Pro controller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Excuse me, I had to take a drink there. I got something in my throat. Yeah, it does, and it feels in your hand. It feels a lot like it, which is kind of what I like about it.
Right, it's a good controller design.
Yeah, and I like it. I think it's cool that they did something like that. Just give me a solid gold one to go with my solid gold system, and I'll be good.
Right.
Next, Voltar. I don't know if a whole lot of people know who Voltar is. He is a modder in Kentucky who does a lot of custom mod work with VGA chips and things for N64, Super Nintendo. He's the quote-unquote creme de la creme of modders, and I think it's just because he is one of the first ones, and he does very clean work, doesn't do a whole lot of cutting and hot gluing and destruction of the original. He tries to make it look as much like the original system as he can. He put on Twitter the other day a device that I thought was really interesting. He calls it the Universal Capture Interface. And what this is for anybody who streams or captures footage of retro gaming consoles, this thing does component, composite, SCART, and VGA to DVI. And I know a lot of people are going, well, DVI, what good is that? Well, you can get DVI to HDMI adapters. What's cool about this is this is made specifically to go in between your retro console and your capture device, without having an upscaler or an HDMI. I use a SCART to HDMI, and it actually, I gotta look at it here. I think it upscales the stuff to 720, if I remember right. It's been a while since I looked at the back of it. Yeah, it either does 720 or 1080. So it won't do like 480 or 240p or 240i or anything like that. So what this is good for is if you have, like I have a SCART, I do all SCART to my PVM setting right here, and then I do SCART out. You can actually plug your SCART directly into this, and then it will just transfer that signal to the DVI, and you can go DVI to HDMI to your capture device. Now, what I don't know is, as far as I know, it does no kind of up converting or upscaling.
Right, I was curious about that as well, because, I mean, it can patch the signal through to that frequency, sure, but it's not going to look good as true, like HD.
Right. No, it's not going to do like a Frame Master or an OSS or any of those upscalers do. I'm not 100% sure if it's just a pass-through or if it maybe does like 480. I don't know. He hasn't brought out a whole lot of information about it. He did do a stream last night with it going SCART to HDMI to a capture card, and it looked brilliant. It looked really, really, really good. So I think if it keeps a true 240 signal, things are going to look really nice on it if you're going from component or SCART. Now, if you're going AV in, it's not, it's going to look as good as AV looks, which is not that great. But, the big thing to me is it's hard to find a SCART to whatever that doesn't upconvert. Mm-hmm. Mine upconverts, and it looks fine. There's no lag on most of the time. There's no lag that I can tell. But it doesn't. It kind of puts I don't know how to describe it. I want to say it almost puts a sheen on it or a shine or something like that. I want it to be more natural and pixelated.
Right.
And if it does a 240 signal, fine. I'm fine with that. My only concern with that is the Elgato does not do 240 anymore. It doesn't even do 640 by 480 anymore. I found that out the other day on my old HDMI, my VGA to HDMI for my Dreamcast. It doesn't upscale the picture at all. It just converts it through VGA, so it's a true 640 by 480. Elgato doesn't do that anymore. It has to be 740 by 480. So I had to whip out the old VGA and hook it up, and then up convert it to 720p, which was fine.
Sure,
and
it's more work than you want to,
Yeah, absolutely.
Put into it each
was
time.
Way more work than I wanted to put into it, because where I had moved, I had no idea where that VGA adapter was at. I dug down here all evening and found it in a box. I'm like, found it! Thank God I found it. We're good. And I mean, now I've done some streams of Shenmue, and it looks beautiful. It's a little dark for my taste, but it looks really good. This, though, could totally change everything.
Right.
You don't have to buy an expensive FrameMeister. You don't have to buy an OSS. You don't have to have a ton of different converters. Like, I've got the SCART to HDMI, but I also have a S-Video out to something. S-Video cable coming out, and then S-Video out the back, which this doesn't do S-Video. That's the only thing. It doesn't do S-Video, which kind of stinks, but it kind of, if you're one of those people who got the HD Retrovision cables, you're probably doing a little better anyway, because those are component cables that just do 240. They don't do... they don't do any kind of up converting or anything like that. You just plug them in and go. That's why they're so funky that your TV has to support 240. And a lot of TVs don't. A lot of TVs do. I have a 10-year-old Toshiba right here behind me. It does not. I bought those cables, and it does not support 240. So, I mean, that's the other thing. If I plug this thing up to a regular television, if it's only pushing 240, my TV won't recognize it. And that's the only questions I have. The other question I have is price. This is a custom-made board.
That's a big talking point there.
Yeah. Well,
he could charge a couple $100 for it and get it easy if it's an all-in-one solution.
Well, you know what? He could, but I think what he's wanting to do is he's wanting to cut into that OSS and that FrameMeister market. So right. I'm really going to guess that he's probably going to keep it around $100, maybe.
Which would be a fair price for something like that. I think
that would be, if it's $100. And I told the wife when I saw this, I went, if it's $100, I'm buying one.
Right.
Because to me, $100 is worth it to not have to mess with a bunch of cables and a bunch of settings and get. As much as I like this SCART to HDMI and it does its job good enough, it would be nice to have something that does it the way it's supposed to be done, and it has it a little more clear and a little more natural. That's what I want, I guess is the word. Is I want a more natural, original feel, not that's upscaled, or you're playing that on a Retron, or you're doing whatever. But it will be real interesting. He hasn't put any other news out there other than it's coming soon. That's all we know, is it's coming soon.
Right.
So, but if you get a chance and you look back through his Twitter, you'll see his OBS test stream with the Universal Capture Interface. Check it out and watch it and see what you think of it. I didn't get to sit and watch the whole 90-minute stream to see if he talked about any of the features or yeah. And one of these days, I'm just going to send him a message and go, if you're not going to put any info out there yet, I got some questions.
Sure.
So I'm not above doing that. The other piece of news that I have is Crits, I think's how you say it, has the newest Master EverDrive X7 up. So all you flash card enthusiasts out there, for $129 you can get the Master EverDrive. What this does is it includes save state functions, an in-game menu function for the Master System games. It does Master System, and it does SG-1000. It has a soft reset menu. It'll support 1,000 files per folder, which is crazy because I don't think there's that many Master System games. If you take every game from every region and throw in there, I don't think. If you want
your like 5 copies of personalized ROM hacks for each game that was released, this is the item for you. I'm
a big EverDrive fan. I really like my EverDrives. Yes, I have one for NES, Super NES, Genesis. That the Genesis one does Master System. TurboGrafx, N64, but I still buy games. You know, it's cool if I see a game and I don't know anything about it. I could come down here real quick, pop in the EverDrive, pull it up, play it, and go, okay, that's a game I want. Or if it's a Japanese game or some game that I can't get in America, or a fan translation of a Japanese game or something like that, I really enjoy it. They're not cheap. They're very expensive, especially the ones for the Super NES that do the Super FX chip games.
Yeah.
Which I don't have one of those. Mine just does regular old Nintendo, and I'm happy with that. I have the FX games that I want, so it's no big deal. But I've done that lots of times, and a lot of times I will use it over my cart just because of convenience. But I still own the original cart. I don't have to worry about batteries dying or losing game saves or something like that, which you wouldn't know anything about that with Phantasy Star or anything, right?
Yeah.
No.
No, nothing about that.
Nothing about that. We'll never speak of it again. But but we've all been there, though, and it sucks. But if you're interested in that, that is the latest EverDrive he has out, and I know just yesterday he updated the SD to Super NES, and it now does the FX chip stuff too. So that's pretty cool. If you have one of those, you can do the latest update if you dare, or you can send it back to him and he will do the update for you for free, which is cool. And that's usually the way I would go, because I don't trust myself to flash things. So it usually ends in bad results.
Sure.
All right, so real quick, I thought it would be really cool to find out what your favorite game series of all time is, Danny. And I specifically said PS2 because to me that's kind of where that era kind of stops. You know, with PS2, GameCube, around in that. I don't. A lot of people are going, "Oh, PS3 and Xbox is." No, it's not. It's not retro yet.
Nah.
Let it go. So, go ahead. Tell everybody what your, out of all the systems in the world, what your favorite series is.
Well, see, this is actually a hard one. I mean, I have an answer, but if you would asked me this, I don't know, 5 years ago, I would have told you, "Oh, it's Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy. It's a great series." But the fact of how many of them I have not beaten, and even how many of them I have not played, in the last few years, I've really been enjoying some Mega Man. So, for me, I think the original 1 through 6 on the NES Mega Man games is probably my favorite game series as one single unit.
Yeah.
One could argue, oh, well, there's not much different about it. Well, that's what's great about them. They're all fantastic. Well, they're all good. They're not all fantastic. But
they're all good and they're all hard.
Yeah. Well, it's trial and error like anything else, right? But, I went on a tangent. Like, I beat Mega Man 4, and I was like, hey, I had a pretty good time with that. Maybe I'll play through, 2. Played through 2. And the next day, I was like, I'm going to play through 3. And so, like, in the course of a week, I beat all of them except for 5, which I didn't have at the time, and then eventually beat that one after I bought it, because it is the most expensive one.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
The one you see the least as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I'd have to go with OG NES Mega Man. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I always liked the Mega Man series. I was never good at Mega Man, but I liked Mega Man. I liked it for what it was, but it was a little, for me, I would get too frustrated at it. At certain
that's
places. Totally
fair.
Yeah, but I appreciate it for what it is, and I like Mega Man. I like the whole story behind it and everything like that. If you've ever read which I don't know if they still got them, the Archie comics Mega Mans, those are really good.
I actually got a couple of them recently. I have not read through them yet, and I need to.
I think I had the first 10 issues. I don't know. I sold off a big lot of my comic books a couple of weeks ago. I think I sold about 600 of them, so I was happy to get rid of them, and that still leaves about 600 or 700 more. But that's half. I got rid of half. I'm doing good.
Sure. I mean, that's totally fair.
I'm
I
letting
mean,
go.
that's a big chunk.
And it paid for 90% of my gaming for the rest of the year, so we're good. You know.
You cannot be upset about.
No, I am not. But my favorite series of all time is Phantasy Star, and I don't I mean, I liked Phantasy Star Online and the offshoot games, but really Phantasy Star 1 through 4. Those are my four favorite, of the core Phantasy Star series. I'll even say 3, and even though 3 is kind of the redheaded stepchild of those 4.
Well, because that's the only one that's not like a direct that happens like way in the future, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't the same team that did 1, 2, and 4. It was a different team that did 3, and they took it in some crazy direction. But I mean, I liked it. It was the first one that I ever personally owned. When I was a kid and I had a Genesis, I think when I had a Master System, I want to say Phantasy Star was $100 when it came out. And that was a lot for a game back then.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a lot for a game now.
Yeah, and I never got it. I take it back. I think I owned Phantasy Star 2 and 3. I know I remember because I remember Mom. I remember Santa Claus buying me. Getting me Phantasy Star 2 for Christmas, and it came bundled with the strategy guide on the back, which I used to have sitting over here, but I think it's upstairs now. And I played the crap out of that game. I mean, I played it all the time, and then I got 3, and Mom even got me the strategy guide that was sold separately with it. And I still have it. It's like a big strategy guide, like a regular strategy guide that you see nowadays, but it's for Phantasy Star 3. Cool. And like that was the only game I got for like 6 months because it was $100. All the other games that I ever wanted to play, I had to rent. But it was really hard for me just to pick one because that Genesis era, there was a lot of series I loved. Shinobi, Altered Beast,
Axe.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many there that I really, really, really liked that I would love to see somebody do something again with. But Phantasy Star, we talked about it the other night. Phantasy Star Online is great. Played the crap out of that on Dreamcast with people all night long online. Had a really good time with that. And, I would still, I have considered, I have the broadband adapter for the Dreamcast. I have considered going online. There's a resurgence of an online community for Dreamcast to play online, and there's quite a few people who play Phantasy Star Online.
So I'm sure that's one of the biggest draws to being able to play online with the Dreamcast.
Yeah, and you can if you don't have the broadband adapter, you can buy a Raspberry Pi with a phone adapter. I think it runs about $70 that this guy makes, and you can get your Dreamcast back online again. They even, if you're online with your Sonic Adventure game, they've even reconstructed the website. Then you could go through the game to the website. They've actually, yesterday they said, we did it, it's up, it's going, it's good, you can get back through the game again. Which just blows my mind. But yeah, so if they would bring out a traditional Phantasy Star role-playing game, I would die. Will it ever happen? No. It's probably going to be, if they bring out anything, it's going to be a Phantasy Star Online type game story.
Probably more likely.
Yeah, I mean, really, the story ended with 4 anyway. So, but to me, it was a great series, especially the first one. Everybody had NESs. They were playing Final Fantasy and going, look how great this Final Fantasy game is. I'm like, does it have 3D dungeons? Because Phantasy Star has 3D dungeons.
Yeah, when you compare Phantasy Star to like Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior or even the Wizardry series, whatever was popular at the time, it just blows it all out of the water on a graphical stance. It's the presentation is just way more powerful than the others.
It really is. Just not a whole lot of people had a Master System. That was that was the thing. So I guess the next question in that is, what series would you like to see make a return that hasn't had a game come out in a long time? Now, I put Shinobi. I know there was a 3DS version of Shinobi, and it was very good.
That was in 2003, though.
Yeah, it was a long time ago though. But to me, with the resurgence of like Sonic Mania, where they went
Right.
back to that Sonic 1, Sonic 2 style, make a Shinobi game that goes back to that Revenge of Shinobi or Shinobi 3 style game.
Right.
And there's just so many great IPs that Sega does nothing with anymore. That
Well, the same could be said for just about any company these
True.
days. Like, there's so many good IPs that are just sitting there rotting because people have obtained the rights to them, and they're like, we don't know what to do with this. It's just going to sit there.
yeah, it's true. It's like the Wonder Boy, and Monster World or Monster
Right.
Boy stuff that's starting to come out. That's all Sega stuff, but Sega's not doing it. Somebody else is, and
And they did a great job with Dragon's Trap. That was I just adore that game.
well, in the was it Monster Boy, and I forget what it is. It's coming out in September.
Yeah, it's like the sequel. It's like a new game, right?
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered it
definitely
on
look out for
Amazon. So, but yeah, I mean, I would like to see a traditional Revenge of Shinobi, Shinobi 3, Shadow Dancer, Shinobi game, especially now with this indie game resurgence. There's so
Right.
many of these cool games. It's like, I'd play a game that's in that style and go, man, I really wish this was Shinobi. Well, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Mark of the Ninja is coming out on the Switch. I mean, come on. If that's coming out on the Switch, somebody could redo Shinobi.
Sure.
But what one would you like to see, Danny?
Man, okay. Insert generic Nintendo fanboy answer here. I would love to see a new Mother game. Earthbound is my favorite game of all time. I have reproduction copies of Mother and Mother 3. I've beaten Mother 3. I did a review of that on my YouTube channel. Check it out. I haven't beaten Mother, but that's mostly because it suffers from a lot of the shortcomings of RPGs at that time. Like, ineffective hits if your target's destroyed, and, the random encounter rate is, wonky at times. But yeah, I would love to see a new Mother game. I think if they were to do a pixelated one, like you were mentioning, if they were to do one in the same style and do that for the Switch, I think it would be amazing. Especially if they released a physical copy, and even so, or even more on top of that, if they released a physical copy, like Steelbook version that has a player's guide in it as a throwback to what they did with Earthbound when that was released.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'd be the happiest person in the world.
And that would be something they could do, and they could make buku loads of money.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's just print.
yeah. Well, and every once in a blue moon, you'll hear a rumor that Nintendo's got something new coming out. Oh, it's going to be it's going to be an Earthbound game, or it's going to be
Right.
a Mother game, or something like that. And, and I think the last time it was the characters released in Smash Brothers
Right.
that everybody flipped out and thought it was going to be a Mother game, and it really wasn't.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. They could have spun that so well. They could have been like, "Hey, here we're releasing Mother 3 on Virtual Console."
Yeah.
Just bang right there.
Well, and with the Virtual Console thing supposedly coming in September, supposedly, I mean, we could see something like that.
It would be neat. I think it would definitely sell.
I think, and I think that may be the thing. If with the way the Switch has been selling, the Steam that the Switch has, once you get the Virtual Console out, get Mother, Earthbound, whatever on there,
Sure.
especially these unreleased ones that never came out here. Then
Which
maybe
at this point, it's only Mother 3.
yeah, and if they see that there's a demand, maybe, just maybe, they might make one. I don't know.
I don't know, man. They've been seeing that demand showcased for years.
Yeah, and it really surprises me, especially with the way Nintendo's been the past couple years. They've been very fan friendly,
Yeah.
So for them to kind of push that one to the wayside is kind of surprising.
Maybe they have something big planned, or one can
Maybe.
only hope.
Yeah, but if there's one that you would like to see or that we didn't mention, send us an email, retro@the-gamers-lounge.com. God, I hate that. I've said it before. There's too many people sitting on the gamerslounge.com.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But anyway, yeah, retro@the-gamers-lounge.com. That's the email address. Send us an email. Tell us what game that you would like to see make a return and what game was maybe your favorite when you were a kid growing up, or what's your favorite now as far as that goes. But it's got to be retro. Yeah. It's got to be PS2 or below. Don't give us Call of Duty or any kind of crap like that. Because
wasn't Call of Duty on PS2?
I'll just you know what? Yeah, I guess it was. All right, don't say
that's not. Look. That could be your favorite series, but it's not a retro game series.
Yeah,
we'll draw the line there.
Yeah, we'll let it slide. I guess that's true. You got me there. I can't even think of something that wasn't on the. Now I'm all flustered. But well, one last thing before we go. I don't know about you, Danny. When you were growing up as a kid, if you had a Toys R Us within decent distance that you went to all the time. We had one here, but it came kind of in the late 80s, early 90s, but it was about an hour away.
But that's quite a trek.
Yeah, and I didn't know if you had any specific game memories of going to Toys R Us. I do, because I remember walking down that aisle of NES and Genesis. Yeah, they had all the tickets, and you had you pull that ticket, you take it up to the register, they'd ring you out, you pay for it, they'd stamp it, and you had to walk over to this little booth. And that booth was like
the game cave.
Yeah, that was like the magical booth, because you could just look and see all these games and stuff just lined up as far as you could see.
It was a beautiful thing.
It really was, and you don't get that anymore.
No.
Anywhere. You just get GameStop with game cases everywhere. But that was the other thing I remember of Toys R Us was two aisles of nothing but Star Wars toys. Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, just as far as you could see on both sides, the entire store just lined with them. But I didn't know if maybe you had any, since Toys R Us was closing, if you had any memories when you were young of Toys R Us. I'm older than you, so I...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have one in particular. Like, we didn't really have a Toys R Us accessible to us for a long time. My dad was in the military. We moved every 3 years. So we lived in Japan for 3 years. And, there was a lot of cool toy stores and stuff in Japan, but we didn't have, like, a Toys R Us. So I had saved up money when we were getting ready to move from doing chores and stuff. And we moved to Hawaii from Japan. And there was a Toys R Us there. And I remember I was like, how old was I? Like maybe 10 or something. And I had $73. And it was the most money I have ever had in my entire life. And so I went to Toys R Us and I spent all of it. I bought a Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails plush set. I remember this was when NES was like on its way out and nobody really cared about it but me and other people that are like nerdy and nostalgic. Yeah. So I was able to get Legend of Zelda in the box, Star Tropics in the box, Final Fantasy in the box, and I think like 2 other titles that they had just copious amounts of for like $7 a piece, sealed. I was like, man, that's always the thing, isn't it? Knowing then what you know now, I would scoop them all up. Screw these plushes, this weird sticky toy I'm buying. No, it's all about these games. I'm gonna put them in a chest.
I would have done the same thing. And we've had discussions like that before. That I remember back in the late '90s of going into stores and seeing boxes of Final Fantasy and Legend of Zelda. Never given 2 craps to the wind about them.
Never thinking twice about it, thinking that it might one day become a collectible.
Yeah, who would have thought? Well, that's cool though, because you spent your own money on it. I remember.
Right.
I remember when it used to be. I live in a small town, and I was born and raised here, and there's literally you have to go an hour if you want to go anywhere. It's an hour to Huntington, an hour to Charleston, an hour and 10 to Parkersburg. It's 2 hours to Columbus. I always say, like they said in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" We're a geographical oddity. We're an hour from everywhere.
Right.
So when we used to go to Huntington, when Dad was working and he was in the union, he had to go once a month, and that was when you went once a month. And it was a big all-day thing, because you go to the mall, you go to Toys R Us. We had a children's palace that was like a generic Toys R Us, but it was just as big as Toys R Us. We used to go there. I mean, and it was a thing. I remember going at Christmas time, and they would have dioramas set up behind plastic that you could see all the cool new toys and action positions and play with them.
Here's this brand new giant Lego set of this year, this little bubble dome.
You wanted to play the latest, the top 10 NES or Super NES or Sega games. They were all in a big machine. You could just push the button and play them for 5 minutes. And, I remember things like that. And my sister-in-law was like, I kind of hated that her daughter is not going to grow up knowing anything like that with Toys R Us. I'm like, well, how often do you go to Toys R Us now anyway?
There is some silver lining there, and that is that out of the ashes of Toys R Us, KB is trying to come back.
That's what I hear. I heard that rumor,
Yep.
and I don't know if Toys R Us couldn't make it now. I don't know how KB's going to make it.
Right. That's what I'm wondering. Like, because it's nobody buys from specialty stores anymore unless it's like a local place. If you want something, you're going to go to your Target, your Walmart. You're going to go to one of those it has everything stores.
Yeah. Well,
and as far as video games go, you already have it oversaturated with even further with Best Buy and GameStop, and so it's hard to say if it would work. And another thing to consider is that they're all mall stores.
Right.
Traditionally, KB Toys was a mall store.
Yep.
And malls are disappearing as well because, again, the above said department stores just have everything you need and your groceries. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see, and I'm hoping that they do well, but it remains to be seen. It's risky at least.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know I've read a lot of articles talking about how a lot of the toy manufacturers are super worried about Toys R Us going out. Barbie and, G.I. Joe and, those staples, Lego and things like that. A lot of that stuff you could only get at Toys R Us. They made deals,
I don't think Lego has anything to worry about, but yeah, like Barbie and G.I. Joe maybe.
I know some of the Barbie stuff, and some of the girls' stuff, there's a lot of stuff that only was sold at Toys R Us that, that now they're going to be missing out on. But with the rise of online and Amazon and things like that, I mean, we do 95% of our retail shopping on Amazon. And, I have the A word, the Echo. I don't want to say, if somebody's listening, I don't want to say her name because it'll go off. But, we have that. So anything that we've ordered in the past, all I got to do is go, hey, reorder this. And it just, okay, it'll be here Tuesday. It just goes. I don't even buy very many games in GameStop anymore. Every once in a while, if I get a hanker, and I'll go over to GameStop and get it. But, I counted it up last night. I have 17 games on pre-order. They're all on Amazon. And, I just order them and go. That's how I got Ni no Kuni the other day. Totally forgot I had that thing on pre-order. I'd paid it off months ago, and all of a sudden the package came in the mail. I was like, what is this? Oh, Ni no Kuni came out today. I didn't even remember that. Awesome. So, it's like, I kind of like that because when I'm on the go and I'm working, and I'm out on the road, I don't have time to stop by a store and, I don't know where I'm going to be at, but I just have it sent to the house. And I don't know. I mean, I hate to see Toys R Us go. It's a cool thing, but I tell you what, I don't know. I've been to the Toys R Us in Greensboro. I've been to some of the Toys R Us's in Raleigh. I've been to some of the Toys R Us's in Charlotte. The ones here, they're all kind of run down like a Kmart.
All dilapidated.
Yeah, they're all like you walked into a Kmart that hadn't been remodeled since the late 90s.
The parking lot's busted up. You can barely see the lines that have been repainted in different positions 4 times.
Yep. But I will tell you what, all the ones around here, 10% off. And them parking lots are full of people in there buying stuff at 10% off. I'm like, you're all crazy.
Got to hold out for the 60%.
Yeah, you've got to hold out. Don't you be, if it was enough for you to pay 10%, you're paying 7% in tax. You're really only saving 3%.
Yeah.
You're not saving a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that Toys R Us is just not going to be around anymore because we hadn't bought anything from Toys R Us for a long time until last year. This past Christmas, we needed to buy some Legos for our great nephew. And I horsed around thinking they would go. They kept going down on Amazon. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold off. And like 2 weeks before Christmas, they sold out and they never came back. And it was like, crap, now I've got to go somewhere and find them. And Walmart was sold out of them. The Lego stores were sold out of them. The only place that still had them online was Toys R Us. And I ordered, I was like, okay, Toys R Us saved my bacon that time. But now it's like, okay, now I don't have Toys R Us to fall back on anymore.
Yeah. You don't have that safety net.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now we're just going to have to, whatever the price is, just order it, because I'm not going to sit around, because you know how things ebb and flow sometimes on Amazon, weirdly. I don't know why. But, I can't do that next time because I don't have Toys R Us to fall back on. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to be strange to have Toys R Us gone. So.
Well, sunrise, sunset, it's all part of it.
I mean, it happens. Look at Kmart, look at Montgomery Ward, look at Service Merchandise. These are all stores I remember going to as a kid, and they're not around anymore. Yeah.
But new stuff's popping up too, so.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, some little company. Hopefully KB will do good, but maybe you'll see a resurgence of local, toy stores like you used to back in the day.
Family-owned toy stores and stuff. Yeah.
It'd be cool. I remember when the hardware store down the street here sold toys. It was the furniture store sold toys. I used to go in there. I bought lots of Mask toys in there. I don't know if you ever remember Mask. You're probably too young for Mask. They were like cars that would fly. The doors would open up and jet engines would come out of the back, and everybody had little helmets on. That it was a cool little thing. They were like Transformers. Look it up. It's kind of look it up sometime.
Sure.
Young kids. All right, guys. Well, we're going to call that a show. Check out the website, the-gamers-lounge.com. You can find our email addresses there, like I'd already said. You can email us, talk to us through there. Follow us on Twitter, JC Meadows 94. Danny's at DPadDanny. You can check out Danny's Twitch page over at twitch.tv/DPadDanny. That's where he does all his streaming at. When do you usually stream? Is it Monday, Tuesdays?
Monday and Tuesday are usually my main days. This week's been sporadic because I've had issues with OBS, but hopefully I'll be able to get that sorted out soon.
Fingers crossed. I think I got mine finally after an hour or after 45 minutes of fighting with it. And I forgot the Mega Cat Studios games that you got that they sent us the other day. We got Log Jammers,
there's a
Justice.
Here,
I can't remember all of them now. There were so many of them.
It was an updated build of Log Jammers, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was Creepy Brawlers, which I also really like. This one's like a horror-themed Mike Tyson's Punch-Out sort of deal.
Yeah, I really liked that one too. It was fun.
And then you got Justice Duel, which I actually enjoyed more than I thought I would. It's a weird joust game, but it's like you can shoot at the enemies, and you play as like cybernetic founding fathers on like robotic eagles and stuff. It's bizarre. It's
so weird, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of gets hard real quick.
Yeah, it does. I think I made it to, because it's like 10 stages in each like zone or each wave or whatever, and the last one's a boss. I think I made it to like the second or third boss, and it just became way too much. I'm like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And then the last one was, I think this is the one that you like, Almost Hero.
I love that one.
This is hard. This is like
very hard.
River City Ransom, but if like all the enemies were on steroids and you're like 150 soaking wet. So that's what it feels like. It's pretty one-sided at times, but it definitely has potential. And if I remember correctly, that one had some pretty good music as well.
Yeah, the music in it was great. But you're right. It's like River City Ransom, but everybody's dressed up like Shinobi in it, or Ninja Gaiden or whatever. Right. I like that one. It is super hard. I think it's the hardest one out of the bunch of them.
Yeah, it's definitely got some high-end difficulty for sure.
Check out those guys, MegaCatStudios.com. They have all kinds of cool things. I know they have Little Medusa eventually coming out. I've been talking to them about it. I've been doing the live unboxings kind of to jerk Danny around because I know he's looking for that. Yeah, you're very excited about that one.
It looks like a cross-up between Adventures of Lolo and Kickle Cubicle, and I love Kickle Cubicle.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks really cool. But they're having some issues with it running on certain systems, so they're trying to get all the bugs worked out of it. But we'll eventually get that. And I know that Coffee Crisis for the Genesis is actually coming out on Steam soon. It's in beta right now. But we should have some information on that in a couple in a couple weeks or a month or so. I don't know when they're planning on going live with that, but somebody's going to be working some bugs for them. So Hey, I still say that's an honor, but that's just me.
No, yeah, it's pretty cool. They want me to look at their game and say, "Hey, can you see if you find anything wrong with it?" Because I did encounter 2 bugs with the first build of Log Jammers. It froze at the end of the game for like 4 seconds with like a high pitched tone, and then it went back to the main screen. They were aware of that one. I just had an older build, and then the same thing happened on like the last boss of Coffee Crisis, and I played through it like 4 more times trying to reproduce it, and I just couldn't. It was like a one in a lifetime fluke, or just a weird intermittent issue.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, Danny you'll probably be streaming some of that, or recording some of it or something. I don't know how we're going to work that.
Well, I'm going to at least play it. I don't know if I'm going to stream it since I already did a playthrough. But
I know the Mega Cats guys were very, very adamant to have you check it out because you seem to be the one who can find the bugs on it. So.
Right. I'll take a look, man. I'm happy to help, especially when they send us these games to check out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. Be sure to subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts at. We are everywhere. And we will catch you next time. Hopefully, it'll be sooner than 4 months. But I can't make any promises, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you.
Take care.
That's funny. But yeah, that's what I was sitting there eating breakfast, talking to the wife.